are these people?
Lawyer cheats with ChatGPT, everyone's favorite AI procrastinating saver. Um, but in this text might not be the best use case. So, um, Collin thought this would be boring. I hope it's not. You know, um, but we'll get into it. This article itself may have been written by AI, but it says it's by Catherine Armstrong over at BBC News. So we'll take her word for it. Um, So, a New Yorker is facing a court hearing of his own after his firm used AI tool ChatGPT for legal research. The judge said the court was faced with an unprecedented circumstance after a filing was found to reference example legal cases that didn't exist. They just
So the
didn't
AI fucked
exist.
up. So the AI fucked up.
Yes. Which you hope it's for the defense, because the prosecution, what are you here in jail for, Collin? Ah, man, and fucking ChatGPT fucking fucked up, dude. The lawyer who used the tool told the court he was unaware that the content could be false. ChatGPT creates original text on request, but comes with warnings. It can produce inaccurate information. So, the original case involved a man suing an airline over an alleged personal injury. His legal team submitted a brief that cited several previous court cases in an attempt to prove, using precedent, why the case should move forward. But the airline's lawyers later wrote to the judge to say they could not find several of the cases that were referenced in the brief.
Oh, God.
6 of the submitted cases appears to be bogus judicial decisions with bogus quotes and bogus internal citations. Judge Castle wrote in an order demanding the man's legal team explain itself. Don't use ChatGPT to write that explanation. Don't do that. No, that's going to be bad. Over the course of several filings, it emerged that the research had not been prepared by Peter LaDuca, the lawyer for the plaintiff, but by a colleague of his at the same law firm, Stephen A. Schwartz, who has been an attorney for more than 30 years, used ChatGPT to look for similar previous cases. In his written statement, Mr. Schwartz clarified that Mr. LaDuca had not been part of the research and had no knowledge of how it had been carried out. Mr. Schwartz added that he greatly regrets relying on the chatbot, which he said he had never used for legal research before and was, quote, unaware that its content could be false. He has vowed to never use AI to supplement his legal research in future without absolute verification of its authenticity. Screenshots attached to the filing appear to show a conversation between Mr. Schwartz and ChatGPT. Is Varghese a real case? Reads one message, referring Varghese v. China, Southern Airlines Co. Ltd., one of the cases that no other lawyers could find. ChatGPT responds that yes, it is, prompting S to ask, what is your source? After double checking, ChatGPT responds again that the case is real and can be found on legal reference databases such as LexisNexis and Westlaw. It says that the other cases it has provided to Mr. Schwartz are also real. Both lawyers who work for the firm Levedov, and Oberman have been ordered to explain why they should not be disciplined at an 8 June hearing. Millions of people has used ChatGPT since it launched in November 2022. It can answer questions in natural human-like language, and it can also mimic other writing styles. It uses the internet as it was in 2021 as its database. Right? So that sentence feels ChatGPT wrote to me, but there have been concerns over the potential risks of artificial intelligence, including the potential spread of misinformation and bias. What do you think, Care Bear? What's your thoughts on this?
Okay, so you're right. It wasn't boring at all.
Yeah. It has some precedent and stuff.
But it does bring up the wondering for me. How effective could AI be? Not now, but like within the next decade or so.
It said that ChatGPT has passed the bar in other places. You can look that up. That it has the knowledge to be able to pass a bar exam. So, like,
that doesn't give me
right.
But that doesn't give me confidence though, because the technology is still new-ish.
Yes.
So I mean, just as an aside, we use like one of the programs that we use to do our shorts.
Yep.
Is through AI. It's brand new. It is yeah,
it's a couple months old.
Job. It's a decent job, and it's not great. Like they're definitely having clips.
I'll say this.
Yeah.
Like with AI, and because I feel like it's another. The only thing that AI does, in theory, is loads of iterations of the same task, right? Right. Like in this case, it's using questions you give it in ChatGPT to then search its databases to find answers, right? And based off the answers it's given before and whether they were right or not, and whether someone found them helpful or not, it will do that again, right? So it's just algorithms in general that have good databases to work from, right?
Right.
But you give AI enough iterations and enough data to work with, the data it spits back out can be incredibly useful, time-saving, and, to me, this is a similar problem to automation as a whole, right? Stephen Hawking, which I should pull this quote, talks about, well, the way to deal with it is to share the wealth that automation makes, right? And I'm abbreviating for time, but that's essentially what he stated in a Reddit thread long time ago. People can look it up. But I think there's a lot of just fear of the unknown with this, right? It's the classic God of the Gaps problem that if you attach AI to a dangerous system that you're not sure of what it can and can't do, the issue is, Collin, we get into the problem of sentience, which we can go into old episodes of Star Trek to figure out how that's going to work. But there's a guy used to work at Google, now doesn't, started asking these AIs questions that were akin to, are you conscious or not? Right? And making sure it had permission to ask questions, treating it as a sentient being, which is not a bad idea. Like this is a thing you are asking to do this task for you, essentially. Like how much self-awareness is it capable of? So
I mean,
does it want to continue living? Those kind of things. Like, are we making the proponents for consciousness in life? That's the question. Will it pass Turing tests and things like that? So, I mean,
it's still kind of wild to think about in terms of, I think even with some of the programs that we use that incorporate AI, they're okay.
Yeah.
But to be fair,
they can only get better. Yeah.
Right. It will only get better. So that's kind of what I'm going in with that thought process with. It can be a tool that could be useful, but to fully depend on it, I think, at least at this point, is not wise.
No, I mean, me and Indy used it to try to have we found an AI that would make a presentation for you if you put in like an article or website, and it got stuff completely wrong. So I wouldn't take it at full value right now, but it's also, you have to give it its due where it is capable of doing stuff that to me, it's the same thing as like when people first started figuring out computers. Like, yeah, you could just play Pong on it if you wanted to, but you could also make like James Cameron movies at the time, like it was just what you were capable of getting it to do. So,
but all this to say with this lawyer, it just kind of is. This guy was just basically lazy that he didn't want to do the work himself. So he used, that's just the crux of it. And that's why I find it hilarious.
Well, the fact is that it replied. It replied,
Right.
no, these are real things. You just can't find them. But they're
Right.
here and here. And then when they looked there, they still couldn't find it. But that doesn't mean they might not have been there in 2001, whenever
Right.
these things were like designed. So we'd have to research further. I just find it funny. You probably shouldn't be using it in like the medical field, in like anything where human lives are at stake in the making of it. Like, I would avoid that. Our buddy Oz has a rule. He uses AI stuff a lot too, but he doesn't use it on anyone's likeness that is alive.
Right.
Like, so, but yeah, anyway, I found the story interesting enough to cover, so,
It is
but
interesting, and I think definitely something. I think especially as AI, Chat GPT, has gained popularity this year, and will continue to. I think it will continue to be the trending thing.
yeah,
That I think it's something that we should be, as you said, it's kind of like using computers
yep.
initially, using the internet initially. I think
And as long as you're
the
careful, I think that it's a tool
careful,
that
but
can be
I think it's a
effective.
tool. It can
Yeah.
be a tool that can be effective, but we also have to be aware of the limitations that
Mm-hmm.
it's able to do currently. It's not to say it won't get better, but we can't fully invest in the technology to expect us to do the things that we would like it to do
Yeah.
at this point without it being potentially wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what I would caution people with if they're working with, like stuff that involves some type of AI component.
Well, you ready to get to our next story?